Hello, everyone, and as always, welcome back to Strategy Gaming Dojo, where we find, learn, and play one more turn of the great strategy games. Today, it's back into Gary Grigsby's War in the Pacific Admirals Edition. This is our play by email challenge against the devilish Mr. Lodrick. And the comment was made, I thought you were just calling him the devilish Mr. Lodrick. No, he calls himself that. And so that was not just a moniker I gave him. I found it quite funny as well. I like it. I like it. Lodrick always likes to talk a little smack my direction when he sends the turns back, which I also appreciate. There's nothing better than smack in kind of broken German English. It's been quite a fun game. He's really taken it to us. But we're starting to put things together a little bit, although, as we'll see, there's always danger lurking. This is the combat resolution for February 5th and February 6th of the year 1942. And let's get right into it and let's see what happened this time. I'm kind of curious myself what happened this time. I always have, he always gives me a little preview. Like I said, he talks a little smack at me, but so I can always tell if something big is going to happen. We'll see what happens this time around the old merry-go-round. As you can see, he's now at Manus. He's already landed in Rabaul and Ley, so Port Moresby coming under a great deal of pressure. All right, we've got right off the top, we've got a Dutch sub trying to do some damage. Unfortunately, it runs into a Japanese PB or patrol boat. This is the Sonon Maru. It's an ASW attack, so he found us, but nothing happened. We got out of there. And now we run into a Japanese sub, and I believe these are unescorted. We'll see. No, it wasn't. Look at me. Look at me. I had an escort in there. Now, that was a sub attack. So we had the small cargo, one of these 1 point cargo ships, the AKL Kunda. This is right off the southern tip of Australia. But we did have a French destroyer, the Le Trifont. Easy for me to say, was escorting the Kunda. So we launched 2 torpedoes. Nothing happened though. All right, Dutch subs trying to get in on the action there. We've got some merging task forces as usual. And I think that'll be about it for the night phase. 2 pulses, they call them pulses, I believe. So this is like a 12-hour pulse in the dark, in the night. Well, the moonlight's 78%, so I guess moonlight for lovers out there tonight, but not a whole lot happening across the sea in the evening. And now we get to the daytime part of the pulse of this day. So each turn has 2 pulses or 2 phases, and then we're playing 2-day turns, so each turn has 2 days. All right, more merging going on. I don't know if Laudric can see that. I mean, I don't think so. We can't see his task forces merging, so I would assume not. I've never actually played a play by email as the Japanese, but I'm just assuming that would make sense. I mean, it's fog of war. Why would we be able to see that? This is all of our sightings. So when we run our recon missions or naval search missions out and about, this is everything that we're seeing. Later on, at the end of the turn, you see the coast watchers. So just people that are allies of yours that are off the coast. We'll see 6 ships go by or something, and that gets called in. But this is the actual our planes flying over. During that part of the turn. All right, he's going to sweep out and over just to the west of Changsha with 13 zeros. Looking around, we don't really have planes, in and up in the central part of China, certainly. All right, here comes a sweep over Rangoon. So he's trying to pull our cap up, fighter on fighter here, 28 Oscars. Some of the Flying Tigers did get up in the air. Let's hope that they fare a little better. Now, sometimes when you see those numbers, you think, oh my gosh, I lost all my planes. No, sometimes they bug out and they head back to the airfield Just it could be for a variety of reasons. Doesn't mean they've necessarily been destroyed or anything. And as you can see here, we destroyed two Oscars. He destroyed one of the Flying Tigers, the H-81s. Hey, good for us. All right, that's one of the better results we've had with them recently. We certainly hope that he'll send some bombers that way if we can fight off his sweeps. Two zeros out over that town. Now he's got some zeros coming in over Yan'an. Okay, nothing happening there. He just sweeps over it. We don't have any fighters that go up and cap. Now he's actually all the way back here by Chungking, and we do have the last remnant of the Flying Tigers. I pulled them all back to Chungking. I say all of them. I think there are like three left. Hopefully he didn't shoot that one down. Nope. No losses there. He sweeps in at 16,000 feet. Like I always say, kind of pay attention to that. You want to be over the top of him if you can be. If you have an aircraft that just can't go up to 20,000 feet because it loses all maneuverability, then you don't do that. But if you've got an aircraft that, hey, the maneuverability is about the same at 20,000 as it is at 10,000, the higher you can fly them in cap, generally the better. Now, he could fly his bombers in lower and get, underneath the cap, but that doesn't happen nearly as often as you getting hit hard because he comes in over the top of you again with this aviation warfare, the air warfare part of this game. The higher your altitude, again, generally speaking, the better for you. All right, here come his carriers towards Port Moresby. We got 14 Warhawks up, but again, these guys do not have the best of pilots. I've tried to replace as many of them as I can. We'll see if they can do any kind of deal, but they had 44 zeros and 180 bombers in on Moresby. We've got a lot of anti-aircraft at Moresby in the units themselves, and as you can see, we damage 8 planes, okay, some Kates and Vals. Uh, three of our Warhawks were destroyed. Okay. So we didn't destroy one plane as far as we know, unless he takes it as an operational loss, but we didn't get him in the initial battle. 6 airbase hits, airbase supply 8, runway hits 50. That's huge. Let's see. Yeah, let's see where he's releasing a lot of this. The zeros are sweeping in at 21,000 feet. Okay, the Kates are bombing from 8,000. The Vals release from 1,000. They probably came from higher. It looks like for the most part he's running these at 8,000 with the Kates anyway, and then he's got the Vals much lower. Val at 3,000. Now, again, they may have descended to drop these bombs, but we're seeing 3,000, and all of the Kates are at 8,000. The Vals 3,000 and 1,000 when they're dropping bombs. Just something to, you can kind of learn from that if you want to play the Japanese at some point. Or hell, it could even, kind of tell you how you should be bombing with your allied bombers. But we'll get to that later in the game. 7 Oscars coming in to sweep Rangoon again. We get some of the Flying Tigers up. Look like 6 of them tried to scramble. We'll see if that worked. Yeah, we destroyed an Oscar and we didn't lose any of our own planes. So we're 3-1 over Rangoon this time. All right, 25 Sonias into this group, the Loyang stack, as I like to call them. We damaged 3 of those planes. We take no losses on the ground. Now 19 Marys follow up. And see what happens. No losses, no losses. Okay, we'll take that. A big force comes in on Yan'an, including 80 Sallies, 30 Lilies, 26 Anns. That's a big bombing force. Now, we damage 8 planes. We've been damaging quite a few planes over Yan'an. Who knows how many he's actually losing? We take 92 casualties. Now, if he lost 4 or 5 planes here, okay, we win that trade-off, I think. But if he loses none of these and they're just damaged, well, that's not great. Looks like we got about 50 or 60 bombers coming in here onto the southeastern China, one of the stacks that's down here. We damage 1 plane, take 26 casualties. They're going to hit them again with 32 bombers, 1 damaged plane, 18 casualties. Now he's going to go search out over Prome just to see if we've got other cap over here, I assume. He's coming at 21,000 feet on the sweep. We had nothing up that went up into cap there. The Idas trying to hit this stack that's outside of Aicheng. 27 casualties reported. All right, 5 Oscars, another sweep. He loves the sweeps, and for good reason. 36 Anns bombing Yan'an. He takes no losses. We take 6 casualties. Now, see, these are sightings. These are, our people on the ground, whether on the coast or otherwise, that are telling us, hey, we saw a bunch of Japanese planes. 2 damaged Idas here, 35 casualties for us on the ground. Now he's going to try to hit this another one of the 3 stacks that's here in southeastern China. Nothing doing there. All right. Well, all in all, that wasn't too bad. The Moresby airfield has taken quite a beating there. Now we're saying at Johnston Island that we saw some Japanese ships. Often those can be misidentified. Always keep in mind that if you've got poorly trained naval search or recon pilots doing naval search or recon, they'll give you a lot of bad information. So we see 8 Japanese ships reported at Johnston or around Johnston by one of our planes? Probably not, honestly. This is just north of Kukong. It's a smaller bombing force. We take 6 casualties. All right, 19 bombers here, north of Kukong again. 1 damaged plane, no casualties. We'll take that. There were light clouds. Always kind of check out the weathers in the hexes, especially when you're going to be doing the bombing. I say especially. I mean, obviously, you're the one that's going to be concerned about that if you're doing the bombing. What's the weather like over where you're looking to bomb? All right, we see some torpedo bombers and whatnot around, out and around Palembang. That could be his carriers. When you see torpedo bombers, 9 times out of 10, they're coming off of carriers. Doesn't always have to be the case. You obviously have some ground-based torpedo bombers. We've got some at Colombo right now, but you can kind of think, well, if nothing else is around or he doesn't have an airbase very close, because they don't, torpedo bombers generally don't have a huge range. I think 7 hexes, maybe at most. You can kind of figure out where his carriers might be. All right, this day, February 5th. Not that eventful yet. Now, we will see the ground warfare, if there is any, on this day. Right now, actually. Land move attack phase. Ground comes last. Okay, he's trying to kick these 2 cores across the river here. They're trying to get back to Aicheng. He caught up with them. And yeah, they're retreating. I just didn't want them to surrender because we can rebuild these things eventually, although in China it takes a while, but we can rebuild them. That's what we don't want to see though. 41 casualties, 4,200 casualties. It just keeps happening in China because these units are just getting obliterated by the bombing, so they can't really stand their ground very well. He's trying to attack here at Ambon. All right, he's tried this several times. He's got what are the Japanese Marine-like troops. This is just a bombardment attack, and it was actually us bombarding them. And so they've landed. We've got units just sitting here in Ambon. They're like, hey, let's lob some artillery shells that way. That should disrupt him a bit and make it tougher for his assault to succeed. All right, now we're just going to expand some fortifications. Townsville expands the port and its airfield to a 4. That's good because if you're going to run big bombing missions, you need a level 4 airfield. So offensive bombing missions, like the big B-17s, you need those coming off of a level 4 airfield. Just something to, keep in mind. One thing I noticed as I was watching some of these at around this time is that I had some of my cargo ships upgrading. I generally won't upgrade those. That just takes supply, it takes time. There's no real reason to do it. Sometimes they can gain speed or something. Maybe some of your very best cargo ships, you may think about it, but I've turned a lot of that off. All right, the battleship Revenge is now in at Cape Town. You saw that arrive. So we get another battleship. The British pump out quite a few battleships at the start here of 1942. I think we get like five of them, four or five of them. Now, they don't really have much air support. If you are going to put them out somewhere, I generally would put them at Bombay, but you got to make sure you have air cover over the top of them from an airfield on land because the Brits just, their carriers are no good. We've already seen the Hermes, or Hermes, I'm sorry. A British person corrected me and said it's Hermes. The Hermes has had to scamper back to Aden. It was hit in the Battle of Port Blair. It's now gone back to Aden to get repaired. We do have a new, I can't remember, I think it's the Indomitable. We do have a British carrier now. It's sitting at Bombay, but they're just not good. And so, and plus, it's just one of them. If he's going to send carriers up to meet you up near India, he's going to send three or four of them. So really, it's probably best to hide those carriers at least until you have a critical mass of them. All right, a lot of early turn stuff here on February 6th as things unload and do whatnot. Now we've got the merging that happens early in the turn. Here comes the air operations phase. All right, we say that we spotted two Japanese ships off Perth. That's something to keep in mind. We know he's got, stuff up in the Philippines as you're seeing this, near Sengkuang, near Tarakan. He's starting to bring his fleet down to these bases he's captured. This is all of our planes, our naval search. Again, it's not all of this is accurate. Hell, at this point in the game, with untrained search and recon pilots, probably only 50 or 60% of it's accurate, I would say. All right, Zero Sweep Yan'an. We've seen this story before. And again, we have obviously no cap anywhere near Yan'an. We do have some cap at Chungking, however slight. And it's interesting that he's already flying back here. He must have put some planes in Nanyang and we just can't see them. We did destroy a zero this time. Look at that. So the Flying Tiger's having a much better turn here. We only got one up against eight zeros. Imagine this guy. Talk about a dogfight. But he ends up getting one of the zeros. Three Mabel's going to bomb north of Kukong. Nothing happens there. But he follows up with 25 bombers on that same group. One damaged plane. Nobody hit on the ground. It was in light rain. Now this is the Loyang stack. He's got 24 Sonyas here. Again, we've got a lot of anti-aircraft just naturally in that stack. Two damaged Sonyas there. Now 19 Marys coming in. Now I had mentioned that he was bringing his, I think it was last time it was the Kates in at 8,000. He's also bringing these Marys in at 8,000. People that have studied this very in depth have figured out that ground bombing works best at 8,000 feet. All right, this is a massive bombing group here. This is well over 130 planes bombing Yan'an, where we also have a lot of anti-air. We do damage seven planes, but we take nearly 200 casualties on the ground. Now, most of those disabled, so they will rebuild, but they're completely disrupted when they've been bombed like that. There's about 75 bombers in here into one of the southeastern China stacks and one damaged plane, 45 casualties. Again, you can see the squad's not destroyed, so they can recover, but they are completely disrupted by that. All right, southeastern China stack getting bombed by about 22 bombers here. One damaged plane, 8 casualties. North of Kukong, one damaged plane, 8 casualties. All right. We do have a very few I-16s down in this area. I just put them up because I was trying to catch some bombers unescorted. Unfortunately, now he's brought in some Tojos, some of his fighters, and as you can see, we're really no match for any of the Japanese fighters at this point with I-16s with poorly trained pilots. But anyway, I was trying to grab a bomber or two of his if we could. It didn't work out that way. Oscar's sweeping out over just southwest of Changsha. This is over Hengyang. Nothing doing there. 25 Ans in. He's really hitting Yan'an this time. One damaged An, 17 casualties. All right, about 50 bombers just south of Nanyang here. Two damage, 143 casualties. Again, one non combat squad was destroyed. Most everything was disabled, but it just really wreaks havoc on these units as far as disruption. You can't be in move mode, it clicks them back to combat mode. 9 Ans in on this group, 6 casualties. All right, now we've got our ground sightings. And then another bombing mission into southeastern China. 6 casualties on the ground. We're reporting subs near Pearl Harbor. A lot of stuff at Sengkuang. We saw a sub out by Batavia. Here comes 22 Oscars over Rangoon. We got some of the Flying Tigers up. It looked like we only had about 3 that were able to scramble. Let's see what happens here. Okay, we had one Flying Tiger destroyed. So he's like, 4 wins, 2 losses this time for the Flying Tigers over Rangoon. We'll actually take that given the way it's been. Our Warhawks try to scramble against this. Look at this, though. 26 zeros, 27 Kates off of his carriers. See if we do any damage here. Hopefully our AA hits some stuff. But not really. We damaged one Kate. We had one of our Warhawks destroyed, 2 airbase hits, one airbase supply hits, and 4 runway hits. Not as bad as last time. That 50 runway last time means we may have to take the Warhawks out of here. You don't want them to get stranded there with no runway. 9 Oscars over Prom. Mole Mine, we have a sighting. Oostaven, we have a sighting. Yeah, we're sighting all kinds of stuff. Now we just saw a torpedo bomber near Rangoon, so something to keep in mind there. I mean, it's possible it was a misidentification. It's possible that it's a carrier group. Very uneventful turn out at sea this time. We haven't seen any real action on the waves. It's been all air power here and mostly just bombing in China. He's now unloading at Gasmata. Okay. We don't have anything at Gasmata. We get to the land move phase. All right, he's going to. This is an Allied bombardment again. So again, this Japanese Marine type force, 82nd Naval, is sitting here on the beach and we're just lobbing shells out at them. We may as well disrupt them and make that eventual assault, much more difficult. Wow, that's it. There just was a lot of bombing this time, as usual, but no naval action really at all. We had the one Japanese sub. We had a few Dutch sub encounters. We had the one Japanese sub down on the southern tip of Australia, but we luckily our cargo ship did not get hit by that. It did have escort, so maybe kind of scared him off a little bit. But yeah, we didn't lose the ship. We lost a few planes, but all in all, we did pretty well over Rangoon. You saw something was taken out of commission to refit at Colombo. That's what I'm talking about. I was trying to catch all those. Obviously, I think that was an AKL. There's just real no reason to refit those. We will talk about some of the ships that you should refit. Certainly, your capital ships, for the most part, you should refit, but it's all about timing with that. If you're not using them for anything at the moment, then do it because it can take 20 to 30 days sometimes, but you don't want to do it like with all of your destroyers at once, for instance. And you have no escort for a month. So you got to be a little bit careful how many of those are going into refit status or, a kind of upgrading, I guess you'd say. That's it. Well, I'll take that turn. I mean, as the allies, that's exactly the kind of turn you want to see. We've got stuff that's flooding into Suva, Nomaya, Pago Pago. I'm trying to get things up to Afate and Luganville and these places. Now, we did take a little bit of a beating at the airfield at Port Moresby. We'll have to go check that and make sure that we don't need to fly those Warhawks out of there to the extent we even can. I don't, how many of them are still operational. But we don't want to see them get stranded there with no airfield, and we took quite a few hits on that airfield this time around. So anyway, that's it. When we come back, we'll go around the map, check things out, look at the stats, and I think this time we're going to talk out and around Pearl Harbor. What kind of defensiveness to set up of those ring of islands that are to the west of Pearl Harbor. We'll probably do that this time. Anyway, this has been Strategy Gaming Dojo. I'll talk to you next time. Have a great one.